In this episode of Cobb TV, we are going to learn some practical brush patterns for the drums. Yes, and be sure to like and subscribe for more awesome musical content. Now, let's get right into it with a brief history of how the brushes came about. You see, in the clubs, they wanted a quieter sound on the drum set, especially for ballads, and nothing existed yet in the early days, so the best that they could do was grab a set of fly swatters. So the first brushes were actually fly swatters, and that's how they evolved into what they are now. And yes, they can be used as a quieter version of a set of drumsticks, and you can play regular beats with brushes if you have a hard time playing quiet with sticks. But there are a few beats that are synonymous for brushes. One of them is the train beat. Now the devil went down to Georgia looking for a soul to steal. And I talk about the train beat in my Accents and Ghost Notes video, so if you want a little bit more in-depth instruction on how to play that groove, you can check that out. But anyways, jazz is definitely the most prominent genre that uses the brushes and has the most diverse set of brush techniques. And in my opinion, the brushes is like its own instrument, separate from the drum set, and you can spend a whole lifetime learning how to perfect these. I'm not a brush master by any means, but I know enough to get myself through the gig. So we're going to talk about a few basic patterns. This first one is just a regular sweep. You're basically just going to go from one corner diagonally down to the other. And it's that simple. It's just a good way to develop your brush technique when you're first starting out. Just that sweep on the surface. And you'll see I'm not using a snare drum head to play these patterns. And I actually read that some people practice on vinyls, like vinyl album covers. And that's the thing I love about playing and practicing brushes is they're not very loud. They're quieter than a practice pad, so you're not really going to disturb too many people when you practice with brushes. And they're a lot of fun. It's like I said, it's a different animal than playing with sticks. And speaking of playing with sticks, another way you can develop your brush technique is by practicing rudiments with the brushes. And the rudiments I use the most are probably just the drag, which is a grace note, a double, with either the left or the right hand followed by an accent. Which brings us into our next beat, and that is the stirring the soup. That's what they call it. And it's best to just practice with one hand first. You're not doing a full, you're just doing a half circle. 1, 2, 1, 2. And to get that sound, it's called a crush. It's basically that. It's its own sound. It's its own note that you're producing. I've also heard people say that it's good to take your first set of brushes and run them through your hair. I read that somewhere, and I tried it, and my hair got stuck in the brushes, so I don't necessarily recommend it, but I thought that that was kind of an interesting thing that I read. And same with the left hand. My left hand's not as good at crushing, and when I play with the brushes, I actually feel like I have more control in the left hand when I use traditional grip. Especially when doing this next groove. And on the note of rudiments, I also forgot to mention the 5-stroke roll is one that I use a lot. Right, left, right, or left, right, left, right, or left, right, left. Alright, and so this next one is basically your normal swing jazz pattern that you would play on the drums, on your snare drum, and you would click 2 and 4. And this is basically going from 1, 2, or 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? And then the left hand is just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you see, when my hand is doing it right, it's kind of rotating a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you'll notice with all these brush patterns, they're all sustained notes. You want to try your best to sustain it, so it's just this constant motion. Stirring the soup again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can start it this way. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the crushes, the sweeping motion going back in the other direction, is where you get your accents on the downbeats. And the stirring the soup sounds really good on ballads. And there's different kinds of brushes out there. I like these ones with like the aluminum handles the best. I feel like they have the most control, they're the most jazzy, but there's the ones with the plastic handles that are good for like country music, for like playing the train beat, and then there's some with like the rubber handles, which are good for actually doing, like if you're doing a wash on the cymbals like you would with mallets, the rubber handles are actually really good for that. So this is the one I should actually have started out with, but it's just the basic jazz pattern. It's the first brush pattern I learned. But you're just going to do your circle right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And that's the simplest one. I should have put that first in the video, but it's all good. Hopefully you got a lot out of this, and you know, just start practicing with your brushes, and there you go. Hope you liked the video. Be sure to like and subscribe, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.